Folks, it's Spoilerin time. That means we are going to take all the hard work we do on our other show, Cordkillers, apply it to our eyes generously, watch TV shows and movies, and then spoil the heck out of them here for your enjoyment this week. Deadwood, Season 3, Episode 6. Preacher, Season 3, Episode 6. Mission Impossible Fallout, the movie. I am Tom Merritt. It's Brian Brushwood.
Yeah, normally I don't have to be on camera during all this. So if anybody's like, this is the first thing they ever experienced.
You got to practice your reaction. Brian Brushwood.
Yeah, normally...
Like
like selling, like, yeah. Well, I guess we are. Yeah. Okay, but this is normally the part where I shout out that we're going to check in on the summer movie draft. Bong.
So, Brett's winning. On to the...
Yeah, no, what's left?
Sorry, John. Also, John's winning.
Yeah, John Trekker.
Team John Trekker has not hit $1 billion yet, though. They're stuck at $916 million.
How much did Mission Impossible Fallout make? Opening weekend.
Good question.
I believe it is still that weekend.
Yeah. Oh, that's right.
Give me a second and we'll check that with our awesome draft.
There it is. 61 million.
Yeah, not a bad opening weekend. Yeah, they're going to cross $1 billion, and they did very, very well.
And your last movie, Skyscraper, seems to have stalled, so you're not going to catch me.
Man,
I get second. I'm number 2. Hopefully.
What? I'll tell you what, man. What a journey, because the confidence that Justin and I had in that moment when the only reason we got the movies that we were able to get is because Cargill overplayed his hand and paid too much or I think he threw away the rest of his money on a silly joke bid or something like that. And then like the moment that happened, or maybe it was Team Cordkillers, but then suddenly it's like I remember texting Justin like, holy S word, we just won. We won the whole game. It's all over.
The thing is, the obvious winner almost never wins.
Yeah.
Like, that's just been true. I feel like, and you guys were right to feel confident, but I feel like there were a lot of valid perspectives on who would win this.
Yeah.
More so than most movie drafts. Most movie drafts, there's a very clear, obvious winner, and then there's like, but if this happens... This time it was like there were some people who were convinced I was going to win because I had Avengers. There were people who were convinced that your slate was unassailable. There were people saying Costco John Trekker has amassed the perfect thing. I heard some people making a case early on that the Chips Bitch was going to win too.
Oh, I mean, just by the sheer quantity of movies and the expectation that of them, one of them would be a surprise hit. That's a fine strategy. Really good game this year. And right now we have only one winner in the whole Chat Realm League. X Modem is in first place. I can't imagine anything's going to come out that's going to shake that up.
But it's close. It's close. If someone in third or fourth has, say, Slender Man or Crazy Rich Asians, but it doesn't look like anybody does. So.
I mean, my problem with X Modem is whether they're still making firmware for it.
Okay, all right. Moving right along. What do we want to talk
what's
about?
out this week on the movie draft scene? Like, we haven't finished our slate yet, right?
Crazy Rich Asians.
So this is Team Tell It Anyway. They were like, you guys, don't laugh, Crazy Rich Asians.
That's 2 weeks out. Do you know what's not on there?
What?
Mile 22, which just seems like a
we didn't have a release date
movie.
on it at draft time.
I know, but I was just thinking that Mile 22 just seems...
We're getting close to that FTC.
Oh, okay, all right. Full disclosure, the reason we're out in LA is because we got a chance to shoot
a
promotion for the movie. We got to meet one of the actors, and it was a lot of fun, and we got paid to do it, and I'm really happy.
So wait.
That's right. I'm a shill for corporate Hollywood. And meanwhile,
all that time.
And meanwhile, who are you married to?
I don't know. Does your movie want to get a good certified flush rating, Brian? Also, buy your tickets at Fandango. All right, let's move on to talk about Mission Impossible Fallout. We have opposite opinions, but for similar reasons, which I found very interesting.
Let's start with the parts that all three of us would agree upon. I think it was beautifully shot. I think the locations were extraordinary.
Great action sequences.
I think the action sequences...
Great stunts.
Stunts were good. I think that's the end of where we agree.
Pacing?
Hated it.
No, I don't.
Hated it.
I was dozing off. during the motorcycle chase scene.
Oh my God! I literally was afraid that I had started snoring at that point. Now keep in mind, it was a heavy travel.
Wait, when
day.
he's going through Paris?
Yeah,
For real?
I literally.
I hate chase scenes, and I loved that. It kept pulling me back in.
It was right after here's how we're gonna do it, but then they really do it. That was when I dozed off and woke up, and he had got to the end of the chase with her.
In our defense, that was a heavy travel day. We
woke up very early.
Yeah,
well, no need for defense. If you didn't like it, you didn't like it.
Okay, so things I did not like. Man, oh man, an awful lot of. Okay.
Well, let me just say, the only pacing time that I actually checked my watch was at the end of the camp, before they go to the medical camp. Mm-hmm. When
they're still in
they've won underground.
Yeah.
I'm like, this feels like it should be the end of the movie, and then it kept going.
Yeah.
And then it got me interested again after that. But I did kind of feel like, oh, you're really going to do more? Okay.
Yeah.
So I understand that it is part of the motif of the Mission Impossible franchise that there's an information dump that's very obviously an information dump.
Sure.
I would appreciate
your mission,
it.
if you choose to accept it, is explain.
Correct. And I think, okay, I'm going to do some work, and this is going to pay off later. Instead, they're like, here's a whole bunch of really tedious information, 90% of which is garbage that goes nowhere and a literal waste of your time.
That is the key to our difference right there.
Okay?
Yeah.
What? Okay. The first time I got past it, but then there's a new information dump also with 90% garbage information that does not matter or whatever. Separate from all of that, I understand that we're now at our sixth movie in this series or whatever. I understand certain characters are fairly unassailable at this point, but if you have effectively trained me that Ving Rhames and Simon Pegg are the Rosencrantz and Guildenstern of this show, and they cannot be killed because they're made of magic rubber, then I feel no tension for them at any point. What I do feel is a deep sense of unfairness that none of them got digitally de-aged to the extent that Tom Merritt, Tom Cruise.
Tom Merritt, you would be surprised.
You're looking very young. You're looking very young.
Now you have broken your NDA.
So as a result, I spent giant chunks of the movie knowing that I was expected to feel tension, but feeling absolutely none of it.
That explains it. I just didn't really pay attention to any info dump ever. Assumed that wasn't really going to make sense because these movies never do, and just jumped on the roller coaster and went for the ride.
Yeah, I wasn't upset, but I was very confused, especially in the underground scene. I was like, I don't know what's going on, but there's subterfuge, I guess.
And that's what I mean. Like, I don't disagree with you. I was confused too, and I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to try to figure it out.
Yeah.
Forget it.
These guys are kind of probably bad. And
they switched Simon Pegg and fooled him, and even if it doesn't make sense, let's just where are we going next? I'm with you.
Now, okay, so here's what's interesting. I fully could not, under threat of pain, explain to you half the movie, right?
And here's the thing.
It's not from a lack of trying.
I never have been able to.
Right.
Like all 6 of them. I can never. This is actually one of the beauties of Mission Impossible series for me, is I can never tell you what happened in previous movies, and I don't care.
Right.
If it's Star Wars, if it's Game of Thrones, I'm going to sit up refreshing myself on the lore so that I can understand. Mission Impossible, I don't need to know that, and it's a nice escape because
even
of
here,
that.
they reset up his former wife, like, oh, she used to be in
we know
the game,
you guys didn't pay attention,
right?
But yeah, recall that. I'm like, oh, okay, Michelle Monaghan's important. Got it.
Now, I will say that the parts, because I am still not thrilled that there's half the movie I can't explain. The part that I did understand, the vignettes that stood alone, like the bad guy waking up in the hospital and thinking, oh my God, man, Wolf Blitzer, very excited to be an actor. It was adorable. He was
fake news. I'm in. Like literally, literally that was what fake news is. Yeah.
I liked those little vignettes, and oh man, there was something else I wanted to say about it, but I've forgotten it. Anyway, there were parts that I liked a lot, but then by and large, I was annoyed and frustrated that it was full on wasting my time. Now, take a counterexample, because the last time I saw a Tom Cruise, not a Tom Merritt movie, a Tom Cruise movie in LA was when I saw Edge of Tomorrow. And that movie was every bit as dense, every bit as beautiful, every bit as Tom Cruise, and yet wasted not 1 second from beginning to end. Everything mattered, and I was present and totally dialed in the entire way through.
And And if I had not seen previous Mission Impossible movies, I might have made the same mistake. But I remembered.
You knew it was a
first
scorpion.
time the plot started to get convoluted, and I was like, wait a minute. I was like, just forget it. Like,
You're not gonna. By the time you figure it out,
Yes.
the dynamic will change.
Yes, that's a Pepper's Ghost. This is a roller coaster ride. Just enjoy it.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. That's where my head was.
I think as a roller coaster ride, it was very good.
Yeah.
Right. The good action, good stunts.
The stunts. I mean, have you dug into any of the reality behind the stunts?
Yeah, and you know what? I can't divorce myself from it because there are ethical concerns I have with the life that Tom Cruise is living, where knowing.
You try to tell Tom Cruise what to do with his life?
I would never presume to do that.
No,
but
know.
I do know
From
that he
up on
gets to
high,
live the kind of life
ivory towers.
where he just wakes up and say, "What's another thing I want to do?"
You know,
and he just gets to do it.
Eileen and I talked about that in the car ride home. I was like, how jealous are other actors that Tom Cruise has the luxury to be able to spend a year learning to halo jump for this role,
But-
because he can do that, whereas other actors can't afford to risk that. And also can't afford to pass up the work it would take to do that.
And I think here's the thing: is and there are.
But he gets to do that. He's got the luxury to do it.
Well, yes,
And
but there's also it's also subsidized. There's an ethical case to where some of those subsidies for that lifestyle for him comes from that I don't want to get into. But
Okay.
I will say that there are times that Tom Cruise's art trumps that question, whereas just like. I don't care. This is
not get
beautiful.
political.
Edge of Tomorrow is a great example like that. You could tell me
Yeah.
Tom Cruise straight up murders a puppy every morning, and I'll be like, worth it, because that's a great movie. This one, I got distracted because I was not thinking that yes, this at any cost.
The one, that is, so not having that in my head either. Man, that halo jump.
That was a great scene.
And I'm watching this.
Super long,
I'm watching this
unbroken
jump,
cut.
and I'm thinking like, oh, these scenes were probably close-ups in a wind tunnel. Then I get home and find out, no, cameraman jumped with him.
Yeah.
They had
Yeah.
two safety people, Cavill's stunt double, Tom Cruise, and the cameraman, and they all jumped, and it was one take.
See, I thought it was.
I mean, they edited it, but it was like,
yeah. If you told me it was really good CG, I would have believed it.
and he did 95 halo jumps over the course of a year in training for that.
Wow.
Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah.
That's a lifestyle that I think a lot of people would love to have.
We're not going to be able to have a fun conversation about the stunts with this guy around.
What did you guys think of the mandatory Tom Cruise running around 10 minutes? I feel like it was a little too long.
A little long. Also, he was.
We get it. You like to run.
Right,
on
but
camera.
they de-aged him. They also could have,
The one thing that
just
that-
slimmed him a little
Knowing-
bit. He
no-
definitely was a 55-year-old man. running.
knowing that he broke his leg on that one jump, I could not see it.
I did not know beforehand.
I didn't know. I didn't know about
and
that.
this is
Yeah.
where I spoiled myself. I watched the film that they released of him breaking his leg,
Yeah.
where you see the leg break.
Oh,
you
geez.
didn't actually see the leg break in the movie, but the one thing you absolutely do see is you see the jump, and having watched the leg break, I'm like, oh, this is the building. Eileen and I were like, this is it.
Yeah.
Then you see him get up and hobble 2 steps afterwards in the immediate scene afterwards because
Yeah.
he has a broken leg. And then the next scene, he's back to running full style. And so that
Wow.
stuck out to me.
Yeah.
I didn't even know
They
that.
had to shut down production for 6 months while his leg healed.
6 months. Oh,
Wow.
gosh.
That's crazy.
Totally took money out of people's mouths for 6
Yeah.
months.
So, like, don't go. Don't.
All the jobs lost.
Very
I'll
complicated.
stop baiting you.
It's
Anything else about Mission Impossible Fallout MI6?
There's gonna be a 7th, isn't there?
Oh yeah.
Probably. Yeah.
This is some generations James Bond.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I'm wondering is, at what point do they have Ethan Hunt train the next MI?
The next
no,
next
no, no,
possible
I mean,
mission.
the
Foundation.
rumor I've heard that's totally unsubstantiated, and I cannot confirm nor deny. The gossip, and this is nothing but gossip, is that his contracts say Tom Cruise doesn't age past 50.
Well, no, I know
but
that.
like,
but
In which case, there's never going to be a reason for him. The technology will just get better and better, and we will always have Tom Cruise as our Ethan Hunt.
oh, you think even after he's dead?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't. I kind of
In
don't
fact,
think.
I wouldn't be surprised if his contract says he doesn't die.
I mean,
Like-
I've heard the rumor that his contract says he can't show up looking older than 50 either, but that doesn't mean that he will always be able to do the stunts. That will.
But I do believe that you'll be able to.
He loves practical effects, though.
Yeah, sure.
I would see a world where he hands it off to someone who can also do the stunts.
Correct.
Rather than
I'm not going to try to
anything.
convince you that I'm right, but I could see a world where Tom Cruise agrees, like, yes, I will always look 50, but in this movie I will train the next Ethan Hunt that I believe in to carry these on after I'm dead.
I think it's more likely he will do a real life Dave and find his replacement that looks like a younger one of him and teach him this is how Tom Cruise handles interviews. This is how Tom Cruise answers.
No, I like that. I like that idea. But where we differ is you think then he will be called Tom Cruise and look like Tom Cruise in the movie? Yeah. I don't think he
that
does
seems wild.
Yeah.
To
Tom Cruise is a wild guy. I'm not going to say it's impossible. I don't think it is either, but I would not rule it out.
What else have we seen?
Preacher.
Oh my god.
Let's just talk about Cassidy. There's a whole Cassidy episode in this episode of Preacher, which is fantastic just on its own.
Yeah. And what's funny is there was a brief moment that I was convinced that all of it was a fever dream, because we see that progression of the story where he meets Lestat basically and learns about these crazy, awesome vampire powers. And I thought, wow, this is really interesting. And this is something that, by God, and then that moment, that heartbreaking moment, he's like, well, what are you doing? What do you need me for? He's like, well, I was looking for a friend. I thought you would too. And it was like, it broke my heart. And then we come back from commercial break and we see him alone, cracked out of his mind. And I thought, oh, that's the only, look at this, goosebumps. I'm like, that's the only thing more heartbreaking than what we saw before this, is the idea that this is all a Brazil-like fantasy in his head. And it does appear by the end that all that did happen, and he is being seduced into this coven, right?
And it's kind of hard to believe that it's real when what's his face is flying him around New Orleans.
Well, and that's the thing,
I'm
is it's
still
almost
not ruling out the possibility.
It's almost world breaking if that happens. And of course, we're talking about what world to break? It's insane, upside down, crazy preacher land. But my goodness, they still have tricks up their sleeve.
And also, usually everything looks really good in Preacher. That scene looked very obviously CG, which I felt could be a stylistic tip-off of like, this ain't real, folks.
I thought it was a stylistic homage to how bad it looked in the Superman movie. That was very clearly, what's her name?
Which could be a tip-off that he's dreaming this as if it was Superman.
Correct.
Because I still think when he gets on the phone with Tulip, he's alone.
Yeah.
And he says to her, like...
But the linkage, he goes to the house and he sees the same old woman, right?
Sure.
Oh, okay.
Doesn't mean all of it's fake.
Yeah.
There could actually even be a real Lestat-like guy, but that guy isn't real.
Oh, and none of the powers were real. Okay.
Yeah.
So he's not a real vampire. So everything is a fraud. That place is a fraud. They give him a drug that he has not experienced. Oh, that would make sense because he says, I've experienced everything. I've seen it all. He's like, I will absolutely show you something you've never seen before. Starting from that point, it is a fantasy.
I don't even think you need to do that, but that's cool. I like that.
They give him a drug and all of a sudden dude's eating owls and flying around or whatever. And like their whole thing is that they're running a con and they want to seduce him into, no, don't you see, we're doing the right thing. And they're trying to get his money, his they all want to be vampires.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, is they want him to infect them. Oh, I think he is a con man. I think that's the only thing that'll hurt me even more, is to watch Cassidy's heart break after becoming friends with Lestat. That's got to be it. Got to be it.
I mean, because how else does a woman who answers the door and like, oh, are you here for what's his name? I'm making blondies. Come in. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
The whole tone.
I'm convinced.
And the imagination stuff is Cassidy's real fear of making friendships because people die.
Yeah.
Which he has absolutely experienced.
I think he was slipped some kind of super powerful Mickey that he had never experienced before. I think all of this is a con job. I think they just want him to bite them. I think even...
Or even just take his blood somehow for healing uses and stuff.
No, I think they all just really want to be vampires, and they've never found one. And they finally have a real vampire on the hook.
Yeah.
Also, how great... a freaking just straight up heist movie for souls, and I believed all of it. And
yes.
And they keep surprising me. So here's what I figured out is so wonderful about Preacher, and it's only possible because everybody is so good at their jobs. It is a giant game of pointing at something in your shirt, getting you to look down, and then tapping your nose and go, aha, got you again.
But you think it's funny. That's the like because you tell me like I'm gonna point at your shirt, you're gonna look down, I'm gonna have you nose. I'm like, you're an asshole. I don't want you to do that.
Right.
But then you do it, and I'm go, wow, the way you did that was hilarious.
Exactly.
That's what they're doing.
Exactly. Yeah. And you know what they're going to do. You know they're going to be like, haha, got you.
Right.
And yet it gets increasingly hard for them to win that game. And they have to use increasingly insane resources in talented writers, in incredible choreography, the music, the characters. And yet they keep getting me again. And the one that I thought of this time was like, oh, this is great. They're going to do a heist movie or whatever. And so she takes the tour, and then they put up the hand grid, and you're like, okay, no, I know. And then they surprise you with the dude just licking
modern technology, right?
I was just like, you got me again, bro. That was pretty good.
And I think what's great too is like there's dumb humor in here. And a lot of times when I see dumb humor at this day and age, I'm like, yeah, I would have laughed at that when I'm 20. I'm just tired of that joke. They make it fresh. They do it in a way that's like, this is dumb humor, but he really does look like a penis, doesn't he?
Well, and what's great is they let you figure that out first before the guy says it, right? And plus, they also managed to keep Herr Starr genuinely menacing, which is the only way you can find it so funny to see him kowtowing and speaking through gritted teeth is because you believe that he's a real menace.
Yeah, he's the top menace.
Yeah.
I think there's something they do where they don't think their jokes are the funniest things ever made. That makes me like them.
Yeah.
Right? Their jokes are thrown away with disrespect.
Yes.
Like, we're going to make a dick joke about his head.
Yes.
Okay? We're sorry.
Yes.
But we're going to do it, and we're not going to act proud, and we're not going to act like you're bad if you didn't think it was funny. And there's that element around it that's like, okay, then I'm in. Yeah.
And here's what they do is they reveal, that's why he's been wearing a hat. His head kind of looks like and then the second they know you got it, they're like, yeah, no, his head's a dick. Look, focus, and it's like, oh shoot, and it keeps you on your toes.
But they don't like parade it around afterwards. Like, we made a joke.
Exactly, like they're totally done with it in that moment. Also, great to see Eugene.
Oh yeah, finally
again.
And did you watch the previews?
I did
for
not.
Next week?
But,
do you want to know?
I don't know. I assume
the trailer for next week has Hiller.
Good.
Right.
Whoops. I didn't mean to say that.
Sorry. Take it out of context. It's a problem. But that's the genius of Preacher. I don't know how many times I've seen on Twitter people like, I don't know how I feel about Preacher. It makes me sympathetic for that character. Yeah.
Boy, poor Eugene truly is, God
has a plan for me. Look, I'm going to get adopted. Oh, wait, by the Saint of Killers.
He's the closest thing to a real Christ figure on that show. Like
he has been dead and
reborn and also, pure of heart and always looking for the good. So good. It's
more
so
Preacher
good.
coming next week. Let's go to Deadwood. I think we are headed into perdition with Alma. Her husband, Alma's husband, what's his name?
Ellsworth. Mr. Ellsworth.
Mr. Ellsworth is very disappointed that she's taken drugs, and that's the only way that she can deal with him, and he feels guilty.
And that is also the answer.
And he doesn't want to take advantage of it, and so that all became clarified.
And we got an answer to last week's question, as painful as it was, and seeing her, I don't know, struggling with it, and like we're not seeing her take insane risks just yet, but we're seeing the natural ways support groups around her are trying to hold her to task and say like, I will not be a part of this. And then also, you did a great job when you pointed out that E.B. Farnham is just, the chorus and all that stuff. Now that I've seen it,
there was
it's
one
so
line in
obviously
this one
right.
that was very much like, oh, that is the only reason to have him say that line.
And I can't tell if you've taken something away from me or given me something.
Probably both.
Yeah.
I took something, but I gave you something else.
Right.
I am I'm the Christ figure in that.
You're the Eugene. What?
Lord giveth.
How are we still annoyed with Cy Tolliver being Cy? We saw him kind of make a move, I guess. You know?
Mean, yeah. It was not his worst episode.
Correct. Do we feel like Hearst is real menacing, or because we don't see him? I mean, we see brewing.
This is
simmering.
not the episode where Hearst is menacing, but the fact that they let him go, I'm like, what are you, idiots? You don't just let him go.
Right.
He is too good at what he does to allow that.
Well, and too calculated.
And honestly, the way he deals with his chef's son, and how weird he is about that, and how, he turns into the Yukon Cornelius and gold, I will talk to you about it. And it's a scam, and she doesn't want to do it because she's like, your scam won't work, and they don't catch it, and they don't kill you. Like that was the way of kind of continuing to show him as a very threatening figure, I think.
Yes, but I also believe that in any other circumstance, let's say, 2 months previous, he would not be taken in by this scam. But he's very upset having lost his lieutenant.
True.
He's very currently angry at
And we haven't seen him
town.
taken in by it yet. He just wants to have the dinner, which with Hearst, he may fully know it's a scam and is like, maybe I'm looking for an angle on it.
You know what? And maybe that's exactly right. I will say that how rich was that moment when the general went, speaking between the lines, just say like, hey, person might be thinking of doing a thing. And I'm, someone else might have money.
I've got a very exact amount of money.
Yeah, exactly. And then plus also to do all that within earshot of crazy
Steve,
racist losing his mind or whatever.
Racist Steve.
That was very disquieting. That was very uncomfortable, and I really enjoyed that aspect.
The one thing I've found with this episode is we somehow at some point, and I don't even know when, I got interested again in the games. I got interested in the machinations, and I'm like, okay, we've got Swearingen trying to keep Bullock in his camp, but Bullock goes his own way. We've got Hearst in opposition to Swearingen, and Hearst pretty much has Tolliver in his camp, but Tolliver's unreliable, and these are the forces at play, and they're marching towards each other, and they've had skirmishes, and they've had battles, and they've won some, and they've lost some, in some cases lost fingers, but I am excited for the Titanic clash that is coming.
Yeah, also, I feel like Joni is just going to get killed any minute now. I don't understand why she's still around, or Cy,
But she got a hotel room.
Okay.
I actually really like her and Jane.
I like her. I love Jane.
Those scenes between them are so enjoyable for me. I don't care if they don't lead anywhere.
Yeah, okay. All right.
They're little paintings, little vignettes.
I mean, let me put it this way. I'm enjoying Joni while we still have her because I am not convinced she lives the rest of this season.
Stubbed out.
I think that was a pun.
All right. I believe it was. And I believe that is a sign that we're done. Thank you for Spoilerin time. Spending your Spoilerin time with us means so much to us, as does your support at patreon.com/Cordkillers. We'll see you next time.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.